Hello everyone, konnichiwa. Today we're going to be looking at an introduction to counting in Japanese. So we're going to start right from the beginning and learn how to say our numbers. Check out the YouTube description box and there's a tiny URL link and you'll be able to open up this Google Doc that I've got on screen now. 今日は17日、12月2018年. So to get started, we'll first look at our numbers from 1 through to 10, okay? And this will help us count all the way to 99. We have 3 columns here. The very left column will be called the Arabic numerals. This is just kind of our English numbers, what we're used to. The middle column is the hiragana reading of the numbers in Japanese. And the final column is the kanji. Now, if you're unsure of the difference between kanji, hiragana, things like that, please check out one of my previous videos where I explain the difference between these scripts. But starting from 1, we have ichi, 2, 3, 4 or yon. So we're going to see that pronunciation changes with Japanese numbers quite a bit. 5, 6, 7 or 7, 8, 9 and 10. Now for example, we can string all these numbers together and we can make a phone number. Okay, this is very common in Japan. They just kind of say the number and then they kind of create little jingles around the number. But this is not quite the same as making a number like 32 or 55 or something, and that's what we'll look at next. Okay, so to go higher than 10, it's not really that hard. We just combine the numbers that we just dealt with. So if we're dealing with 11, we get 10, so 10 has to come first, and then we just say 1. We don't say anything in between. So 10 is 10, ichi is 1, 11. This is 11. And then we just continue this. So 12, 13. Okay. Now there are going to be some changing pronunciations, but don't worry about these so much. You can say 14 or 14 if you can't remember which one is which, and you will be understood. But generally people are going to be saying 14. So then when we get to 20, we now kind of flip it, and instead of saying 10 and 2, which would give us 12, so 12, we say 2 and then 10. So 20. Okay, so this is 20. 12, 12, 20. And then we just keep going up like that. So we say 2, 10 and 1 to say 21. It's not written here, but 21, 22, 23, and we keep going up. And we can say we got 25 here, so 25. We've got some other numbers here. We've got 66. These aren't really special numbers, it's just good practice. Now generally what I like to do in my head is make the 60 first, so make the kind of tens column first, and then you just add 6 to it. So I will go 60 to make 60, and then I say, well, I want 66, so 66. So kind of do it in 2 stages in the beginning. And we got the last number that we can get to while we're counting like this, which is 99. So Q for 90, and then Q for 9. Q, 99. Once we get to 100, we have to learn some additional words, but it's still following the same pattern. We just have to incorporate these extra words. So we have 100 for 100. Now this might be a bit of a strange sound for you. To be honest, there's not many sounds like this in Japanese, which have this hi followed by a small ya. But anyway, it's 100 for 100. And then we've got 1000 for 1000. And then after that, we start having to put 1 in front of the number. So man is it's the word for 10,000, but generally you'll have to say ichiman for one lot of 10,000. Okay, so this is kind of the big difference compared to English, because we don't really have this word for 10,000 like they do in Japanese. And we're going to see that Japanese tends to count in groups of 4, whereas English counts in groups of 3. So we're much more comfortable with using 1,000 as kind of a base counter, whereas Japanese tend to use 10,000 quite a lot. And we'll see that this continues all the way through. But anyway, we have ichiman for 10,000. Now here we've got 10 to the power of 8. I find that hard to visualize sometimes, so I just wrote it out here. And we can see it's got all these zeros like this. Now the word is oku, but again, just like we did with 10,000, we have to put ichi in front of it. So ichi oku. Now this is quite a big number. The only time you really need to know this is when you're kind of talking about populations of really big countries like America or Japan, for example. But generally, you're going to hear this talking about money in terms of GDP and stuff like that. So it doesn't really come up all that often. The next one we have is 10 to the power of 12. So what are we getting at now? I think this is a trillion, basically. Is that right? Anyway, there's quite a lot of zeros, and again, you're not really going to need to know this, but it's chor. Now we notice there's a bit of a pronunciation change. I'll deal with this a bit more in a second, but it's itjo for 1 trillion, I believe this is. Again, you're not going to be using this much. And one other handy number I've decided to put in here is the number for a million, because in English, we actually use the million as a base counter for a lot of things. So it's good to know how to say this in Japanese. And it's really just combining the word for 100, which we already saw, which is hyaku, and the word for man, which is 10,000. So hyakuman means it's a million. All right. And we can also say, for example, senman for 10 million. All right. So we can combine them all like this. Now, when we start talking about really large numbers, often they're just written with these Arabic numerals, okay, the kind of English numbers that we're used to, or there's kind of a combination of both English numbers and Arabic numerals and the Japanese kanji, for example. Now, large numbers, when they get written all in kanji, they start to kind of look like large Roman numeral numbers. They just become kind of really long, and it just kind of becomes unwieldy, so they tend to avoid this. So for example, we got one here, which is, this is goman sanzen. All right, so this is 53,000, okay? Because we have goman, so this is 5 lots of 10,000, so 50,000. And then we have sanzen, this is 3,000. So 50,000 plus 3,000, 53,000. Now, it's important to be kind of comfortable counting in lots of 10,000s, because if we think about Japanese money, the notes that you're going to use most commonly are the 1,000 yen note and the 10,000 yen note. And there's not really anything higher than the 10,000 yen note. So you're going to be using a combination of those two things a lot. So you're going to get very used to using at least 10,000 and 1,000 when you're dealing with money. So if you're kind of wondering, how can I learn more about this? I would really recommend a book you can get on Amazon called Tae Kim's Guide to Japanese. It's a really great book. I've used it many, many times to teach my students. I use it often when I can't understand a grammar. It's a very straightforward guide that I think is just the most comprehensive guide that's really accessible to people who can speak English. And I think it's one of the best laid out guides. You can click on this link and get it off Amazon. Otherwise, Tae Kim has a website which has his guide on there, and you're welcome to browse that if you're looking for some more information. If you want to practice this though, I would just try and think of as many numbers as you can in English, and then have a go at writing out the number in hiragana. Don't do a kanji for now, because we have some long sounds, for example, Q for 9 and Ju for 10, and you want to get used to lengthening those sounds. So refer to that very first table and have some practice at that. Try and find a Japanese person. I'm sure there's some Japanese language conversation groups in your capital city. Otherwise, you can get my services, and you're welcome to send me it in an email and I'll correct your work for you. Otherwise, there's many websites like lang8.com which can help you, or Reddit's Learn Japanese. Okay, so that concludes our introduction to basic counting. I'm going to continue this video in another lesson where we look at more advanced counters. For example, how to count our age, how to count money, and how to count, just generally count objects in Japanese. But that will come next time because it's a bit of a bigger topic. I'd recommend that you subscribe to my channel, then you'll get notified. I put out a video every week, so I'd really appreciate if you guys would like and subscribe if you found this video useful, and send to all your friends. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Catch you later.